Welcome back to the Just Show Up show. Today we are doing Positive Intelligence Week 2 review. So, oh dear Lord. Okay, so this is kind of funny because in the Week 1 video, I was super hype. I was like, wow, like I had one of those moments that you have when you go to like a retreat or you do plant medicine or whatever kind of practice that you engage with, and you feel like I'm fixed. I'm good for life from now on. Like, this is the first day of the rest of my life. And that's not quite how it went in Week 2. So in Week 2, I had my period coming, and I've talked about this before in the on this channel. And what happens to me, and I think it is really important actually for women to talk about this because we do make up 50% of the planet. And following my PMSing apocalypse, I had a dream, and this was so funny. I was dreaming that Hillary Clinton was kind of like in some kind of like women's fair, and it wasn't a women's march because all these women were dressed up like to perfection, like perfect makeup, like classic American style, like perfection. And I remember in the dream, I could just like, I saw this like massive women, like just women, as far as the eye can see, and not a single man. And I think what the dream was showing me really is a vision of that 50%, because we are 50% of the population, and there's so many things that we struggle with on a daily basis. We have to exist in a masculine world that is dictated by the 24-hour day, which just does not make sense with our cyclical nature. Ah, dear Lord. So I think it is really important for us to talk about what we go through on our periods, what we go through leading up to our periods. And I'm doing my part in doing that. So what happens for me and how this kind of works together with the positive intelligence. So the positive intelligence would say your judge and your saboteurs are gonna hijack you. So what you can do in preparation for that, and that is something that I should remember for next month, and I hope I will. We'll see. But basically, it's good to write out the kind of things that your saboteurs would say when you get hijacked. So in my case, when I'm getting my period, it's as if someone takes a brush and just paints over my entire existence, and everything turns dark and negative and gloomy and hopeless, So sorry. That is so unprofessional. I am so sorry. So the feelings that I end up feeling when I'm on my period is I end up feeling really kind of weak. And I've talked about this with other women, and it's very common. Like, you're very hypersensitive. And I think what happens to us is that when our period is coming, and this is where I don't know how this interjects with positive intelligence, because I feel, and another woman has said the same thing, like Eckhart Tolle's concept of the pain body. Women, when you live in an imbalanced society where women are oppressed, I mean, this is like up to everyone's debate, but I do feel like we are oppressed. Like, of course you can say like, okay, men used to do, well, they don't anymore, used to do most of the providing, right? And like providing in terms of like food and shelter and safety. But who is this safety protecting us from? It is protecting us from other men again, So I'm like, okay, don't even get me started on that one. I know that we live in a world where there are men and women, but it's definitely a world out of balance. And we are now living in a modern version of that, where it seems that women have certain kind of freedoms, but at the same time, you have the freedom to go and pursue a career in a world that is designed for the male cycle, for example, you know? So yes, we're freer than we used to be, but there's still so many things that are just not designed for us because we've never been in positions of power where we could create those designs. So when I am PMSing, I swear to God, I feel connected to the collective feminine pain body, and everything that I can swallow during the rest of the month, I just cannot swallow. Everything that I just kind of like slide and let go of, and you know, it just doesn't work that way when I'm PMSing, because I feel like exactly like as if I'm hijacked. It feels as if my self-control is just out the freaking window, and everything that I have resentment about, or anger about, or frustration about, or sadness about, like I cry so much when I'm PMSing, all of that comes to the surface. And then I tried my best, you know, to use the positive intelligence tools of like getting back into your body, and this I really like. So what I've learned in this week is that it's all about bringing awareness back into the present moment and like disassociating from the thinking. So what happens when we get hijacked is that a story starts, and it's a very emotional story that starts running in our heads. So when we start listening to that story and start engaging with that story, I mean, clearly when I'm PMSing, it is a time of good intuition, and it is really good for all of these impulses to come to the surface and to show me where I usually find imbalance and dissatisfaction. So that's valuable information, because as I said, like during the rest of the month, I let everything slide. Everything is okay. Everything is peaceful. Everything is no problem, you know? But when it comes to my period, then it's like, oh God, like there's a sudden sense of urgency around everything that is not quite the way I want it to be. And I also have this big thing about like not feeling appreciated, or, you know, like someone can say like one small thing and it's like, oh, like end of the world. Like I feel so hurt, you know, it's like as if, yeah, like as if that part of my mind that would normally process these things and like turn them into something that I can digest is just gone during that time. So the tools of positive intelligence, of coming back, what I've been doing is like really rubbing my fingers together and just quieting. And that would work for a couple of seconds and I'd be back on the train. I'd be back on the ride, and it was just in and out, in and out, in and out. And it went on like that for 2 days because something happened that really upset me. And the funny thing for me is really that every month it is the same thing. And I feel like every month I feel oppressed and I don't feel free enough. Like I want to be like 100% free, and I don't want to be just free, but I also want to be cared for. Like everything should just be like 100%, which of course in life it rarely is, in my experience at least. So my key saboteurs in this week, that's what we've been working with. My key saboteurs are the restless and the avoider and the hypervigilant. So the avoider, what I've been really seeing this week is that the avoider tells me that we just need to avoid negative emotions. So when whatever is stressful, you know, like when I have to do something that really, really stresses me out, and it's usually things that I think I don't have a whole lot of confidence in, and this also relates to kind of potential ADHD. Like you care so much about the thing that you end up being a perfectionist, and that's why I've been practicing not being a perfectionist and just showing up, which is the whole theme of this channel, is to really start getting comfortable with the discomfort of things just not being very perfect or at a very high standard that is, you know, always predictable and consistent. And easy to maintain. Like, that is not easy to maintain for me, at least. And I don't think it's healthy either. And I think just that collectively, because when you want to achieve stuff that is at a very high quality, there are trade-offs. They're just inevitable trade-offs that you have to do, right? Sometimes. And I think as a society, collectively, we're moving away from putting importance on excellence, and we're starting to put importance on our well-being and on our feelings and on how we interact with each other. So I think all of that is excellent, and I am contributing my bit of the piece to it. So basically, this week, I kind of didn't do so well. And I think what's been really great about it is that I go through this process more or less every month, but this time, because I had this awareness to the process of what happens, like my getting hijacked and feeling bad and all of that, putting awareness on it and just sitting with it as it is, I noticed that this week I was just not judging myself. I was like, okay, I'm a mess sometimes, and that's fucking fine. You know what I mean? It can be fine. And I think what I've been working on a lot over this past year is really deep self-acceptance. And what I realized in last week's video, and last week, is that I didn't have unconditional self-love. And that's what I've been really working on the last year especially. And what this means, unconditional self-love, will mean at some points that someone will be judging you or criticizing you or, yeah, exactly, like saying stuff about you that would normally hurt you, and you don't want to disappoint people, right? But at the same time, it's like you can be making mistakes and you can be failing and you can be objectively bad, And at the same time, what I want to do for myself is to be forgiving, and to just say, it's fine, it's fine. You don't have to be perfect all the time. You don't have to be moral all the time. You don't have to be correct all the time. It's totally fine to be a mess and to be in a situation that is less than ideal, And for me, the way that manifests is that throughout my 20s, I was kind of, on an adventure. I just wanted to explore. I just wanted to travel. I wasn't taking life very serious in a way. I mean, I was taking my intuitive impulses very serious. And at that time, the impulse was for me to travel and to explore the world and to learn and to integrate into different cultures. And I have no regrets, but the fact is that now, coming back in my 30s to the real world is showing up with some challenges, because my life path was just different to that of your average person who, enters the workforce straight after college and, career builds. And that was never my thing. And now I'm kind of, okay, dealing with that, So I think it's really important, and there will be people, who will say like, oh God, like, of course, you were just hedonizing away during your 20s. But then I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand, like, I also came from an abusive household. Like, of course, I had to somehow stay away from the pain, right? Like that, most of us do that who have been coming from traumatizing households. Like we choose things so that we can somehow manage, and I'm like, why am I being judged at the standards of a perfectly functioning person, when that's just not the case. Like, I was just trying to manage, and I am still just trying to manage. And I think what I'm practicing with myself and with my clients is really fresh, you know what I mean? Like, this is the stuff, it's new, but this is the stuff of the future, This is the stuff of the future. If we can really, really come from a place of unconditional self-acceptance and self-love, the stuff that we can create from that place is going to be far better than anything that is produced from a place of fear and reactiveness. which is what the old worldview wants us to do. It's like, feel bad about yourself and about your choices. Like, you should have done better. Why are you not there yet? You know, we're all of us are just always like running against time and like feeling bad about where we are now, and like feeling like we should have done better and we should have this and that, whatever. You know what I mean? So I think it's really, it seems crazy on the surface to just put an end to that and like stop engaging with it and actually take a step back and just pour love into the situation that we find ourselves in. But I think it's the healthier thing in the long run. And to the pair of eyes on the outside that comes from this old materialistic worldview, this is just gonna look like yet another excuse and yet another form of laziness, and like you're not working with the system as it is. But we can't build a new world, you know, with the same freaking materials and tools of the old world. Like, we have to completely reimagine it and completely start again from a blank sheet of paper. So that's what I have to say this week, and I hope you enjoyed it. I don't want to keep these videos way too long, but here we are, imperfectly perfect. And I hope to see you again next week for week 3 review. So thank you for watching. I love comments. If you want to comment something, even if it's just a flower, thank you. And I'll see you next week. Bye.